A brand new executive order just hit the news cycle, and the headlines are claiming the government is going to hand you up to $1,000 a year toward your retirement. And honestly, that sounds pretty incredible. But before you get too excited, let us make sure we actually understand what is going on here. Because most people reading those headlines have no idea where this money is really coming from, when it actually becomes available, or what you personally have to do to receive it. And here is the part that is not making it into many of those headlines. This executive order did not create new retirement accounts. It did not create that $1,000 figure either. That money already existed before anyone signed anything. So today I want to walk through this clearly, honestly, and without any political spin, because this is exactly the kind of story that sounds enormous when you read the headline. But once you actually understand the details, you realize there is a lot more nuance sitting underneath it. On April 30th, 2026, President Donald Trump signed an executive order titled Promoting Retirement Savings Access for Workers by establishing TrumpIRA.gov. The stated goal is straightforward. Make sure that every American worker has a simple, easy path to opening a low-cost retirement account. Create a clearer on-ramp to establishing an IRA, and make it easier for people to understand how to access this $1,000 government contribution that has been generating so many headlines. So let us tackle the biggest claim directly. The government will give you $1,000 for retirement. This is technically true, but here is the reality that $1,000 already exists. It was not born from this executive order. It was created by the Secure 2.0 Act, which was passed by Congress and signed into law back in 2022. And it does not even go into effect until 2027. What you are hearing about comes from something called the Savers Match, a replacement for the old Savers Credit, which was a reasonably well-intentioned program that was, frankly, confusing enough that a large number of eligible people either never used it or never fully took advantage of it. The real goal of this shift is to replace something complicated with something simpler and genuinely easier to put to use. Here is exactly how the Savers Match works. The government will match 50% of whatever you contribute to an IRA up to $2,000 per year in contributions. That is how you arrive at the full $1,000 match. You have to put in $2,000 yourself to capture the full benefit, but there are income limits attached to this. For Stein single filers, you qualify for the full match if your income is up to roughly $35,500. There is then a phase-out range above that, and the match disappears completely once your income exceeds about $60,000. For SOS married couples filing jointly, both partners are eligible for the full match on a combined household income up to around $71,000. The phase-out kicks in above that, and the match is gone entirely once household income reaches approximately $100,000. In rough terms, that covers somewhere between 35% and 45% of single filers and 25% to 35% of married households. It is certainly not everybody, but it does reach a meaningful portion of the population, particularly those in lower and middle income brackets. Let me walk through a couple of real examples so this becomes concrete. Example 1. A single worker earning $30,000 a year contributes $1,000 to their IRA. The government matches 50% of that, so they receive a $500 match deposited into their retirement account. Example 2. A married couple with a combined income of $85,000 each contributes $2,000 to their own individual IRAs, $4,000 total between them. Because their income puts them partway through the phase-out range, they do not qualify for the full match. Each spouse might receive somewhere between $600 and $800 for a combined match of roughly $1,200 to $1,600 going into their retirement accounts. The pattern is clear. To capture the full $1,000 match, you need to contribute the full $2,000 and fall below the income thresholds. If your income lands inside the phase-out range, you get a reduced match. And if your income exceeds the upper limit, you are not eligible for any match at all. But here is the fundamental rule that applies no matter what. If you contribute nothing, you receive nothing. The match only exists because you put money in first. And that brings up something worth sitting with for a moment. On paper, a 50% guaranteed return on the first portion of your savings is genuinely powerful. It is hard to find that kind of return anywhere else. But the income ranges where this match is available are fairly tight. And for many households earning within those ranges, finding an extra $1,000 or $2,000 to set aside for retirement is not a simple thing. It can be genuinely difficult. So yes, for someone in this income bracket who can manage to save, this match is a real and significant benefit. But we also have to be honest that the people this program is designed to help are often the same people who face the most financial pressure in their daily lives. That is not a flaw in the policy itself. It is simply the financial reality of where many people are living right now. Whether someone can actually benefit comes down entirely to their personal situation, cash flow, monthly expenses, income stability, and financial priorities. Access to a great program does not automatically solve the challenge of finding the money to contribute in the first place. Now, let us talk about timing, because this is another area where the headlines are creating some confusion. The Savers Match officially begins in 2027. Here is what that timeline actually looks like in practice. You make your IRA contributions during the 2027 calendar year. In early 2028, you file your taxes for the 2027 tax year. The government then calculates whatever match you are eligible for and deposits it directly into your retirement account. And that last part is important. This money does not come back to you as a tax refund or a cash payment. It goes straight into your IRA. You cannot spend it directly. It lives in your retirement account. So while the headlines are generating real excitement today, nobody is receiving any money today. The program does not launch until 2027, and the first government matching contributions will not actually arrive until 2028. Here is a detail worth knowing for higher earners who might be wondering if this applies to them. Even if you have already maxed out your IRA contribution for the year, you can still potentially capture this match. The reason is that the Savers Match is calculated based on your contributions, not on how much contribution room you have remaining. So if you max out your IRA at $7,500 in 2026 for those under age 50 and your income falls within the eligible limits, you could still receive the full $1,000 government match on top of that. And critically, that match does not count against your annual contribution limit. You could have $7,500 from your own contributions plus $1,000 from the government sitting in the account simultaneously. That said, realistically, the people who qualify for the full match tend to be in lower income brackets, which makes maxing out an IRA in the same year considerably more challenging. So this scenario applies to a smaller subset of savers. One more detail on the tax side. The match is deposited as pre-tax, traditional money, even if your own contributions went into a Roth IRA. Because this government money has never been taxed, it flows into a traditional account. When you eventually withdraw it in retirement, it will be subject to ordinary income tax at that time. So what does this executive order actually do? Your first reaction might be, wait, do IRAs not already exist? And yes, absolutely they do. You can open an IRA today with Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, or dozens of other providers. It takes maybe 10 minutes online. So this executive order is not creating a new type of retirement account. It is not changing contribution limits. It is not adding new tax advantages. And, as we have already covered, it did not create the government match. That was Secure 2.0. What this executive order creates is a centralized platform, TrumpIRA.gov. Think of it the way healthcare.gov functions for health insurance, but applied to retirement accounts. The site is intended to let you compare IRA providers side by side, see fees presented clearly, and enroll in one streamlined place. This is not a government-run retirement account. Think of it more as a marketplace or an onboarding hub designed to simplify the process of getting started. And here is why that actually matters more than it might initially seem. Right now, About 65% of American workers have access to a workplace retirement plan. That means roughly 35%, somewhere around 50 million people, do not. These tend to be gig workers, part-time employees, people working for small businesses, and self-employed individuals. And they disproportionately fall on the lower end of the income scale. Here is where the behavioral data gets really interesting. When people do have access to a workplace retirement plan, somewhere between 70% and 80% actually participate. Layer in features like automatic enrollment and employer matching, and participation can climb to 85% or even 90%. But when people do not have access to a workplace plan and have to go open an IRA entirely on their own, only about 5% to 15% actually do it. That gap is enormous, and it reveals something important. Access alone is not the real barrier. The bigger barrier is the friction involved in taking action. Most people simply do not take the initiative to go open an account by themselves, even when they know they probably should. And I want to be transparent about where I land on this personally. I genuinely appreciate any effort that encourages people to save for their future. If this executive order gets more people thinking seriously about retirement and brings more attention to a topic that does not always get the focus it deserves, that is a good thing. I mean that sincerely. But I also think we have to be honest about what this does and does not solve. When you look at the Retirement Savings Challenge, it really breaks down into layers. Layer 1 is access. Do you even have a retirement account available to you? Layer 2 is participation. Are you actually contributing to it? Layer 3 is optimization. Are you saving enough and investing in a way that actually serves your long-term goals? This executive order addresses Layer 1 fairly directly and perhaps nudges Layer 2 a little. But for many people, especially those in lower income brackets, access was never really the primary barrier. The deeper barriers are things like not having enough disposable income to save in the first place, behavioral friction and inertia, lack of awareness, or a genuine sense of intimidation around the investing process. Simplifying the path to opening an account is helpful, but it does not automatically solve the question of whether someone has money to put into that account. The programs that have demonstrated meaningful real-world results are the state-run auto IRA programs. Things like CalSavers in California, Illinois Secure Choice, and Oregon Saves. The reason they work is precisely because they remove the need for individual initiative. Workers are automatically enrolled. A portion of their paycheck is invested into default investment options without anyone having to figure it out on their own. And because of that automatic structure, participation rates have jumped significantly. The research is pretty clear on this. If you want to genuinely change financial behavior at scale, you do not just make access available. You build systems that move people into action automatically before friction has a chance to win. That kind of systemic change, though, requires an act of Congress. Automatic enrollment at the national level would touch tax law, labor law, and employer mandates. An executive order cannot reach that far on its own. So here is a clean way to frame where things stand. Before this executive order, retirement accounts existed, but many people were not using them, especially IRAs, which require individuals to go seek them out on their own. After this executive order, retirement accounts still exist, but now there is a more visible, centralized place designed to guide people toward opening one. This is not a redesign of the retirement system. It is not a sweeping new benefit. It is not a windfall of free money landing in anyone's account. It is an attempt to expand visibility, reduce friction, and distribute access to existing tools more widely. And it still relies entirely on the individual taking action, going to the site, opening the account, and then actually contributing. The research consistently tells us that is where most people fall off. And that behavioral gap will likely still exist for a meaningful portion of the population even after this rolls out. But we can hold two things as true at the same time. This can be a genuinely meaningful step forward for people who were close to taking action but needed a clearer path. And it is also not the complete solution to the retirement savings challenge in America. Both of those can be accurate simultaneously. So the next time you see a headline about $1,000 from the government, here is what to actually take away from it. The money is real. The Savers Match is a legitimate benefit created by Secure 2.0. But it is not automatic. You have to contribute your own money first. There are real income restrictions that determine whether you qualify. The program does not launch until 2027, and the first matching contributions will not arrive until 2028. And the role of this executive order is to build a centralized platform that makes it easier to find and open an IRA, not to create new money or new accounts. The goal is to expand awareness of a benefit that already exists and hopefully get more people across the line into actually saving for their future. So what are your thoughts on this? Does this executive order feel like a meaningful step forward to you? Or do you think it falls short of what is actually needed? Drop your take in the comments. I read them all. New videos go up every single week. If you got value out of this one, a like genuinely helps. If you are new here, consider subscribing. And if you know someone who would benefit from understanding this clearly, share it with them. See you in the next one.